The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see." These words, though poetic, conceal a darker truth. Society often resents those who see what others cannot. Intelligence, in its purest form, is a double-edged sword. It grants clarity and insight, but also invites alienation, suspicion, and even hostility. Schopenhauer, a thinker who spent his life wrestling with the tension between genius and mediocrity, understood this paradox deeply. His philosophy offers a haunting exploration of why society harbors an aversion to intelligence, a phenomenon as old as civilization itself. Schopenhauer's philosophy is rooted in the idea that human existence is driven by an irrational, insatiable will, a blind force that perpetuates suffering. For him, intelligence was both a curse and a liberation. The intelligent individual, capable of transcending base desires and perceiving deeper truths, becomes a misfit in a world obsessed with superficiality. Society, Schopenhauer argued, is a mirror reflecting the collective mediocrity of the masses. Mediocrity, comfortable in its familiarity, instinctively recoils from anything that threatens its equilibrium. Intellectual superiority disrupts the status quo, exposing uncomfortable truths and demanding accountability. This dynamic explains why intelligent people often face social isolation. Their thoughts and values diverge from societal norms, creating a chasm that neither side fully understands. The loneliness of genius is not merely a lack of companionship, but a profound existential disconnect. Albert Einstein, for instance, famously described himself as a lone traveler despite his global fame. His revolutionary ideas about relativity were initially met with skepticism, even mockery, by peers entrenched in classical physics. Marie Curie, too, faced relentless discrimination, not only for her gender, but for her unrelenting intellectual rigor. Society praised her discoveries, but whispered about her unnatural ambition. Why does society harbor such animosity toward intelligence? Schopenhauer's answer lies in human nature. Most people, he observed, are governed by emotion, habit, and herd mentality. Intelligence challenges these comforts. It asks difficult questions, rejects easy answers, and refuses to participate in collective delusions. In a world where conformity is rewarded, the intelligent individual becomes a heretic. Modern social psychology supports this view. Studies reveal that groups often marginalize members who exhibit higher cognitive abilities, perceiving them as threats to cohesion. This aversion is amplified by the Dunning-Kruger effect, where less competent individuals overestimate their abilities while underestimating those of others. The intelligent person, aware of their limitations and the complexity of problems, becomes a target for resentment. Their humility is mistaken for arrogance, their curiosity for condescension. Gender dynamics further complicate this tension. Historically, intelligent women like Ada Lovelace, pioneer of computer science, were dismissed as eccentric or unfeminine. Even today, women who display intellectual prowess face a paradoxical scrutiny. They must prove their competence without appearing too assertive, a tightrope walk rarely demanded of men. Schopenhauer, though a product of his time, and guilty of misogynistic views himself, inadvertently highlighted this dissonance by framing genius as a masculine trait. Yet figures like Marie Curie and Lovelace dismantle such biases, proving that intelligence transcends gender, even if society lags in accepting it. Education systems, too, perpetuate this cycle. Standardized testing and rigid curricula reward memorization over critical thinking, producing generations adept at following instructions but unequipped to question them. Students who exhibit intellectual curiosity, those who ask why instead of how, are labeled disruptive. Schopenhauer, who despised academic orthodoxy, saw universities as factories of conformity. The universities, he wrote, serve to ensure that the man of common intelligence shall come to look like a thinker. Loneliness is the shadow of intelligence. Neuroscience reveals that highly intelligent individuals process information differently. Their brains are more sensitive to stimuli, leading to heightened awareness of life's absurdities and injustices. This sensitivity, while a source of creativity, breeds alienation. Schopenhauer described it as a melancholy of the soul, a price paid for seeing the world too clearly. Emotional intelligence, often touted as a remedy, offers little solace. While it helps navigate social dynamics, it cannot bridge the existential divide. A person may master the art of diplomacy, like Benjamin Franklin, whose charm eased his revolutionary ideas into acceptance, but still feel isolated in a crowd. Richard Feynman, the physicist known for his playful social demeanor, admitted that his brilliance created an invisible barrier. "You cannot understand me," he once said. "What I do is not for you." How do intelligent individuals survive in a society that fears them? Schopenhauer advocated for Stoic detachment. He believed that geniuses must retreat into inner worlds, finding solace in art, philosophy, or science. This withdrawal is not surrender, but defiance, a refusal to let societal disdain extinguish their light. History's isolated geniuses, from Newton to Tesla, embody this strategy. Yet modern times demand new approaches. The digital age, with its illusions of connectivity, amplifies both opportunities and risks. Social media, while enabling intellectual communities, also drowns nuanced discourse in a sea of hot takes and clickbait. Algorithms favor outrage over insight, leaving intelligent voices marginalized. The same platforms that celebrate Marie Curie in retrospect would likely have dismissed her in real time as a controversial figure. For those navigating this landscape, adaptation is key. Embracing intellectual diversity, recognizing that intelligence manifests in myriad forms, can foster resilience. Ada Lovelace's blend of poetry and mathematics, or Feynman's fusion of physics and bongo drums, remind us that intelligence thrives at the intersection of disciplines. Similarly, balancing introspection with engagement, as Franklin did, allows one to influence society without being consumed by it. Society's aversion to intelligence is not a flaw, but a feature of human nature. Schopenhauer's somber worldview teaches us that suffering is inevitable for those who dare to think deeply. Yet within this bleakness lies a strange hope, the recognition that intelligence, though hated, is indispensable. Every leap in human progress, from the printing press to quantum computing, has been propelled by minds society initially rejected. To be intelligent in a world that fears intelligence is to walk a solitary path. But it is also to join an invisible fellowship of thinkers who, across centuries, have lit candles in the dark. Schopenhauer, for all his pessimism, found solace in this truth. "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone," he wrote. For the intelligent individual, solitude is not exile, it is sanctuary. In the end, the hatred society directs at intelligence says less about the intelligent than about the collective insecurities of the mediocre. To rise above this is to embrace the burden of clarity, to find beauty in the lonely pursuit of truth,